Talk to us about some of the other things, the risk factors we're seeing just in the candidate community. Because again, we are, and I think it's important for everyone listening to this, we are seeing a lot more interest from the candidate community in exploring opportunities, but we're also seeing people make decisions about their own circumstances. Talk about some of the potential risks to your employees that you might see. So one of the ones I've seen is the retirement piece.
Mm.
So maybe talk a bit about that as well.
Yeah, that's a really great one. We've seen on both sides of it. So we've seen sudden employees taking early retirement all over the place for health reasons, personal reasons,
Yep.
and looking at the work environment and saying, nope, you know what? I have 6 months left. I have, in some cases, we've seen 2 years.
Yeah.
Um, Early retirees indicating and submitting their retirement requests 2 years in advance. What does that do from a planning perspective? Wow. That knowledge transfer is just it just ramps everything up. But on the other side of that, we've also seen some employees opting to delay their retirement, moving on. They say, there's certain things happening at home. Their partners
And
may
if
have
that was an
lost.
internal succession planning and someone was
Yes.
relying on that job as the next stage,
Yep.
they potentially would look elsewhere for that.
Absolutely. That's a huge risk. And I mean, it is a risk in that you will lose that the resource that you've been training up that has come up the ranks and has that knowledge as well. Again, the impact of what has happened this year will be will be seen and felt for a long time. But that kind of situation where you have someone putting off their retirement for a year because of personal reasons, the employer has a lot on their plate to handle at the end of that as well. Some real thoughts. See, we're talking about people. We're not talking about retiring an office chair or getting new furniture, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be able to take that human aspect and the emotional aspect of that and balance that as well. As an employer, you have to keep that in mind.
And I think employers will often forget the ripple effect. So
Mhm.
one change typically leads to more changes. So good example you saw with an executive director recently decided to retire early.
Yep.
That had a knock-on effect to their internal succession planning. The person who was supposed to step into that role wasn't ready. So they ended up having to hire externally. That designated succession planning individual got disillusioned by that, decided then to exit the organization. Then suddenly the entire leadership group are working for a different executive. They're working for somebody that wasn't who they were expecting to work with. So they all started questioning, and suddenly they saw about 25% of their leadership team leave because of one person making a decision on retirement.
Yep.
So, and I think it's important as employers then to think about this, be aware of those, manage these risks, document them, speak to your advisory group about them to say, okay, this is something that could happen. What do we do if? Because there's cost to all of these. And if budgets are thin and budgets are strained already, then those are difficult choices you're going to have to make. So